Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andreas Plank. My colleague Lisa Treutlein and myself will host you the next 30 minutes. Thank you for choosing this session. I know, or we know, you have a choice. We will use the time to decompile this impressive title, Leverage SAP Cloud ALM for Service in AI Assistance from MaxAttention. Our focus will be the middle part. The purpose to put this into the schedule of this event is to showcase what's possible if you embrace all the functions and capabilities of Cloud ALM. So we will talk about an SAP service entitlement, but we will use this example to encourage you to embrace all the features and capabilities primarily in Cloud ALM for Service and Cloud ALM for implementations. Before we go there, I have to help you understand what this offer is. So this is by no means a commercial session, but I cannot explain all the rest without giving you a little bit of context of what SAP is going to offer to all customers starting January 2026. So what is it? AI Assistance from SAP MaxAttention. Early next year, SAP will officially launch. It was pre-announced during the Sapphire in 2025, a completely renovated SAP service and support offering. It will all be subscription-based, and those subscriptions will be associated and attached to your cloud software subscriptions. So it's a percentage of your subscription fee for the applications you decide if you want to dedicate to any of these three entitlement layers. And as I said, this is not a commercial exercise, but I want to help you to identify where the offering that we are introducing you to, where you will be able to find it. And this is this entitlement, AI monitoring and recommendations. It's positioned in the middle layer of our offering between the foundational entitlement and the advanced success plan. If you're familiar with SAP Preferred Success, you have an idea of how the consumption of the entitlements in the Advanced Success Plan will look and feel like from a customer perspective. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a fully cloud subscription offering. That means one of the SAP internal requirements when we designed this offer was that you must be able to completely autonomously, independent of SAP or any other third-party providers, consume your entitlement and take advantage of what we have to offer. It's a very important aspect. If you are familiar with any of our current services in our portfolio, many times you need to call SAP, schedule services, and ask our people to come in and help. Behind all these technical labels, commercial terms, what is it really that we are looking at? Consider is something similar to a membership. I mentioned already this is a subscription. It's a membership to something like an optimization and improvement studio. And let's look at these three words more closely and decompose why I think they describe properly what we are looking at. First of all, it's more or less the obvious part. It's the optimization that comes with our content. With the content, we enable you to improve things on your end. The second piece is the improvement piece. By empowering your teams to do it yourself, we think we can help your resources, your team, to grow their own competence and personal confidence while working, and they will be motivated doing those because they see the outcome, they see the result of their work. And every accomplishment that you can see will help them to grow and to we want to instill an appetite to do more themselves and achieve more themselves. So what we want to offer you with this is regain a level of independence of SAP, but also of third-party vendors when it comes to optimizing your SAP solution. Why Studio? We want to entice the people that we are working with to turn from users into members. Instead of passively consuming the content, like your stream in a kind of private context, you should actively get involved with our community and acknowledge and embrace the fact that, like in the fitness studio, the outcome will only show if you actually start doing things yourself. If you just sit there and browse through the content and browse through our offering, very little will happen, to be honest. So in order to see the benefit of the offerings, a certain level of activity will be required. We also invite every member of the community to really directly influence the content that we are going to build going forward. On the next page, we will look at the assets, the titles that are available today. This is just the beginning, and we want to put it out there to let the community understand what it is and how it looks like and how it feels like to take advantage of it. But already in the second round, we want to make the future coverage of our portfolio depend on your input, on your requirements. And in parallel, we want to transform also the mindset and the attitude of our own team of service consultants into from being a supplier of technical services to coaches and moderators in a large virtual community. So we consider this as an offer to become virtual members of a large center of expertise. So this is the initial set, so that you have a kind of visualization and some examples and associations in your mind of the courses that are broken down into different classes. If a better analogy for you is something like a curriculum, or titles with episodes, if in the back of your mind you have the streaming service as an analogy. Either way, we look at items like data capacity excellence, evolution readiness, the adoption potential, operations excellence for SAP BTP, cybersecurity, and the extensibility subject. All associated with the value drivers that we consider. And underneath each of those areas, we have specific improvement opportunities that we put up. And you will see in a minute how this looks like and how we accomplish this, and offer you for consideration and implementation. And we offer all of this content directly to your streaming device, which is SAP Cloud ALM. Data play a very prominent role in this scenario. Remember, this is a subscription entitlement. It has to work entirely automated as far as the SAP contribution is concerned. That's why we rely on significant amounts of data that represent your technical situation, so that only the relevant and only the important recommendations are put on your plate. You're drowning in SAP advice, you're drowning in recommendations where we only have the best, let's say, intent to help you to improve the situation, but it's overwhelming. You need a mechanism that helps to start to prioritize and to trim down the list and to have some sort of an ABC classification, so that only what matters most is on top of your list. And this is what we offer through this automated situation assessment, by relying on data to decide or to make proposals for your decisions what should be improved next. Content is important, but today, in today's environment, there's no shortage of content. Sometimes you feel there's even too much out there in terms of videos, PowerPoints, white papers, other documents. Some of it is very good, some of it is not so good, some of it is outdated, some of it is up to date. We are not making that worse. We are not hiding this from you either. What we have developed is technical content that we put on top of it and that we use to address the following 4 requirements. in order to establish this kind of process on your end. First, we labeled it reasoning. While everybody's excited about the artificial part of our, let's say, industry, we still put the human into the center of this offering. In our role model, we call her Donna Decision. So Donna Decision is right in front of me right now, and I want her to be convinced of my proposals. And as a human being, she relies on reasoning. It has to be reasonable. I have to use words to get her buy-in for my proposals. So the team that is developing technical content has to preconceive the situation that we are going to create for Donna Decision and prepare the communication. And AI is helping us to render the text, so to say, just to have a more kind of efficient auditoring process. But in the end of the day, we say that already having very clear and concise language to make the proposals to Donna Decision still matters. Then there is data. Data is important. Data is the lifeblood of this offering, and without data, we can't automate any of this. So we need a data pipeline that is flowing from the systems that we attach to this mechanism, run it to data pipelines, and use orchestration to automate the situation assessment. Once the outcome is there, we still need to offer Donna a visualization of the data situation so she can relate to our proposals. So it's not that the data is only running in the basement or in the background and is churning out proposals. We are also offering analytical stories that can be interactively explored in order to appreciate the context of our proposals. Then there are traditional rules, if then else type of rules. We all grew up in decision trees. In the service context, we have very many variations of technical situations, and we have learned that there's no silver bullet. Depending on the context, something else is the better approach. So we have an environment that helps us to express those rules into a technical language and execute the assessment automatically. It's part of Cloud ALM, and we will see in a minute how it's called and how it's looking like. And last not least, action. Once all these assessments have been performed and the opportunities are clear, somebody will have to take an action and make a change. And this is not automated. Don't be afraid of an agent at this point in time that is just waiting for a command from Donna and everything is implemented into your environment. Maybe a few years from now, that's our reality. For now, we say, no, we stay more conservative for now and say the action is actually created in a way that a junior resource, somebody maybe from grad school, somebody that joined your team from college, that normally would not be trusted to or get the assignment to change a critical configuration in your environment. With the help of these templates, they are empowered to do it anyway, under Donna's supervision. By the way, the name of that resource would be, or that persona is Emilio Execution. And that's how we try, or how we are convinced we will be able, together, in this virtual team that we are creating, to generate the outcome. First, with these 6 titles that we offer starting January, that contain about 100 episodes altogether, that will constantly grow. So now you should be able to relate to what you will see next, because now I will hand over to Lisa to open the hood of the car and show us the engine compartment. And let's see.
Thank you, Andreas. Okay, yeah, I mean, as Andreas said, I will do the demo today, but before I start the demo, I would like to share one slide with you to explain based on the dimension which Andreas just used, AI system from SAP MaxAttention, also from the system perspective. I would like to start with the outcome. At the end, there will be an outcome, there will be a result, and to provide this result to the customer, we are using our AI system from SAP MaxAttention cockpit. So that means in this cockpit, we have a high-level overview about the result, and also the option, what we are doing here, is to provide the way to open different other applications, to work with different other applications. And to come to an outcome, we somehow require data. And that brings me to the next card. So the data is the basis for everything. So without data, no outcome. And to identify maybe some improvement opportunities or something like that, we really require this data. And it's always like this, that we have raw data collected, and then we process the data. And the processing of the data will be also done by some data intelligence features, so for example, outlier detection or anomalies. What we are also doing is we visualize the data. And here our Insights to Action dashboard comes into the game. So we visualize the data situation of the customer. And let's imagine we have identified a finding, there's maybe an improvement opportunity. Then we also have to explain it to the customer. What is the reason why we have identified it? What are the information about that? And maybe also the option to provide some recommended actions. And here we are using two different applications. The first one is the service result application. The service result application is like a written report, and we will have also a management summary included there, which is, for example, also generated by AI, so large language models. And this is more or less, compared to the other application, maybe a little bit more static, I would say, because the other application is our issue and action management application. And here, in this application, donor decision, for example, can also get some details and make decision, okay, if he wants to execute, if he wants to work with some issue, or maybe there's an improvement opportunity, and then the customer says, I want to continue. At the end, the customer can decide if he wants to continue or not, because at the end, it's also important for us, SAP, to understand if the customer continues with this issue, which was identified, or if he maybe set it to not relevant. But let's imagine the customer says, super, that's a cool finding, that's a super improvement opportunity, I want to continue. Then we come to the action part. And here we are getting support also from the project and task management. What we are always doing is, if there is an issue or an action identified, we also provide a step-by-step instruction how to work with this identified finding. And project and task management is somehow supporting us during the follow-up. So at the end, it's customer decision how to organize then this follow-up within the project and task management, but nevertheless, it's possible. All the applications you're seeing here are more or less the applications for the customer, so where the customer can really take action, can work with. And now, providing also some insights, what happens on SAP side, what happens on our side, because at the end, we require rules. And with these rules, we decide which findings should be provided to the customer based on his data situation. And here, we have our main application, the service execution engine. So here, we call it check procedures. Our experts creating some checks, creating some rules. So here, this is all about our knowledge base. There's another application which is called service asset maintenance, where a service owner or a capability owner in this case can then decide, okay, which asset should be configured to offer this offering at the end. Okay, having that said, let's get some insights and let's see a short demo. Okay, So what you are seeing here, this is our current AI assistant from SAP MaxAttention cockpit. That's currently a preliminary version, so it's not the final version for the go live. It will look a little bit different. Later in the slides, I will also show a quick outlook how that could look like. But nevertheless, the content is more or less the same. So in the header part, the customer can decide which capability he wants to see. I mean, in this case, we have only one capability, which is data capacity excellence. And the customer can also decide which system I want to see, because at the end, it's also on the customer to decide which system should be analyzed. And in the lower part, we are currently just displaying a list view. I mean, and then we have here also the options to navigate into the open dashboard. So in our dashboard, that was the data part, and also to get to our report. And on the right-hand side, you're currently seeing an overview about identified issues. In this case, we are calling the improvement opportunities or the problems we identified issues. But let's get some details or some insights in our dashboard. So this is now, okay, it's loading. In general, we are using the SAP technology SAP Analytics Cloud. Later, after the go live, it will be embedded within our Calm for Service environment. But yeah, so this is always how it will look like. So we always have like a high-level overview page where the customer gets some high-level KPIs, and we also provide different sub-areas, so where the customer can really get some details about this specific capability and the different sub-areas. Back. So, and then the next part, if you remember, was the reason part, and that was the first application, so we can open here a report. And this is, as I said, it's like a written report. So the customer gets here some insights about AI assistant from SAP MaxAttention in general, and also this management summary, which I already just said at the beginning. This is AI generated. And in the lower part, the customer gets also then some details about the different sub-areas which were analyzed. Maybe also important to mention here, for example, for customers who do not have access, or maybe colleagues of the customer, this report can be exported to a PDF. So you can then also share it, as I said, with colleagues who do not have access to the cloud ALM environment. And if you remember, in the reason part, or in this reason category, we had another application, the issue and action management application. And to open this one, you can just click here on the number of the issues, and then we directly navigate into the issue and action management. And here you see then an overview about identified findings. So for example, let's see, okay, we have here some document types, we have reduction potential, I want to get some details, I can click on it, and then I get really some details about the finding. I get also like a high-level overview of what is the business impact, and as I also said, a recommended action, what could be done. And here the customer can then also decide with the issue status if he wants to accept the issue or if he says, maybe it's not relevant for me. But let's imagine the customer says, yeah, that's a good finding, I want to continue, and then I can create follow-up tasks. And that was the action part, or that's the action part. So if I, for example, then select the issue which I want to continue, I create here on create follow-up task, and then I have to define in which project I want to work with that. So let's imagine here we use this one, and you also can define in which project phase. So it's really at the end up to the customer how to organize this follow-up task. But I don't want to create it now because I already prepared one. So for example, for our issue document types, we have some reduction potential. I already created a follow-up task. And if I click on that, then we automatically open the project and task management. If I remove the filtering here, and then I get this step-by-step instruction how to work with this finding, what should be done. I mean, in general, you can use the project and task management functionalities to follow up on that, but I don't want to explain project and task management now, but I mean, some of you may already know that, so that's a really huge application. Good, that was the customer part, and now let me also provide some insights what happens on our side. So what you see here, this is our service execution engine, so to say. And we see here we have 13 checks executed. And in the lower part, we see the checks per subcategory. So for example, HANA memory, table usage, or our issue we just saw, the documents with the reduction potential, HANA disk, and the last one. So these are the subcategories again, and for each and every subcategory, our experts define some checks, and then this assessment, what you're seeing here, will then happen automatically during the runtime, during the execution of the service. And I mean, at the end, we also see here then an overview which issues were identified. Okay, going back to the presentation. I promised you that I share a quick overview how the AI assistant from SAP MaxAttention cockpit could look like. So that's the current idea. So just a quick preview for you here. Okay, before I hand over to Andreas, let me summarize my part in maybe 2 to 3 sentences. So it's always like this. We collect the data, we process the data via some data intelligence features. Then, based on the rules, we identify then some improvement opportunities. We have to provide to the customer what is the improvement opportunity about. And at the end, it's a decision from the customer if he wants to continue. And then we also offer here the project and task integration that the customer can follow up on that. Having that said, that's it from my side. Thank you for listening. Back to you, Andreas.
Thank you, Lisa. And there's just one slide left. It's about the things that we are working on. So if you are enticed to or curious to see how this looks like, you will certainly want to know also, okay, what's next? As you have seen, we have used data intelligence and AI capabilities already, but they are not as prominent yet as the name would suggest. So that's obviously something that is on top of our list. One of the items that we are working on, let's say, has a working title, Intelligent Insights. Let's say you are in this interactive dashboard, you are working with the data, and now you say, despite what SAP has preconceived, there's something that's interesting in the data constellation. There's something where I wonder if there's an opportunity too. And there will be some button that's called AI Assistance from Max that you can push. And now the system will generate a draft issue associated with a draft recommendation in the draft task template. And we can hand this over, this artifact, to the issue and action management transaction, the application that will then use the history of issues and actions that we have in this context, in this area of concern, in this technical area, to see if we can enrich it with data to make the problem statement or the opportunity more meaningful, but also to outline more clearly what would have to happen next in order to take advantage of opportunity or remediate the problem. And then in the end, it comes down to the project and task management, where we hand it over to Emilio Execution to actually make the changes. And if everything before was generated by the machine, it may not be as sophisticated as if our engineers are creating those templates. So maybe here and there's a little bit of guidance missing, but by the time we arrive there, we hope we will be able to offer contextual help that comes at the push of a button. Remember this morning in the demo Michael was showcasing, he already kind of indicated that there's integration scenarios with Joule. Right now it's more or less it's a sidecar application that we have to help Joule understand the context of our of our application, and what you can expect is certainly something that's more closely integrated. And last not least, for the cockpit, if you put yourselves into donor decision's shoes and you have a larger environment, multiple systems, multiple environments, and also many areas of interest, we may still create a situation where you are overwhelmed with opportunities and don't know where to start. So we have to provide a little bit of intelligence to prioritize, and not based on the technical type of issues, but really based on how much we know about you. Because we have to find a way to prioritize it according to your choices, to your goals, to your priorities, to your constraints, and provide you a view into a magical mirror that shows you what you have accomplished in the past, based on the numbers that have changed, based on the improvements that you have already achieved, and correlate this to your level of activity, because obviously in the cloud ALM application, we will be able to tell that issues have changed their status, recommended actions were followed up, and the task in PTM were actually assigned and completed. And that's something that we can correlate and use as an insight, as a reflection to yourself to tell, okay, this is an area where you have already invested in terms of level of activity. We already see the outcome. Maybe we can leverage this and do more in this area and prioritize the remaining opportunities accordingly. So these would be the 4 different areas where you can expect to see improvements of the product and also capabilities that are more closely associated with the AI part in our label. So I hope this all makes sense. It adds up in your mind. You are less confused than half an hour ago. If there are any questions, feel free to ask them now. If you prefer a more private setting, you can always reach Lisa, myself during this event, or later on. We have our contact information published. Don't hesitate. We're actually quite curious about how this is received. If, in your point of view, it makes sense, it's an offer that should resonate with your teams, with your organizations, or if some of our assumptions are wrong. Tell us. And otherwise, thanks for your attention, for your patience.